So, hello and welcome along to Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. Super excited to be welcoming back the amazing Naomi Rukavina. Naomi, welcome back. How are you? How are things?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Good, things are good. It's summer in Australia, so things are really good.
I was going to say, now, Neighbours wrapped up for you about 6 months ago now, I imagine. So, how has life been since Neighbours finished? What have you been up to? How is things?
Um, Gosh, my goodness, it's like such a. Oh, that's my alarm to tell me to. We have an interview. Um, uh, Life is very different for me all of a sudden. Just before the show wrapped, I was actually on maternity leave when Remi was in um, witness protection. That was me on maternity leave. So I've obviously had a baby, and then I went back right at the end of the show to finish up with everybody else because I just couldn't have missed that. That would have been heartbreaking, and still was heartbreaking even though I was there because I just loved it. It was such a beautiful job and great people and just production was so fantastic. But I have been being a full-time mom, which is just a lot of new all the time, and I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I've had a little human to look after and, you know, grieve the loss of the life as you know it, as everybody says, and grieve the loss of my favorite job ever. And they're planning a renovation, which was in the works for a really long time because of said baby. And yeah, I'm at home. I have no schedule. It's really weird. So I don't quite know who I am anymore.
I mean,
Just
what would you say you've learned anything about yourself since becoming a mum, or how has it changed you at all?
oh God. Yeah, I think every job I've ever had, and I've had some pretty hard ones, have been easy compared to being a parent. That's what I've learned. I've never quite known tiredness like this. And I know everyone says it and it's really a bit of a boring cliche, but it's really true.
I mean,
I've
there's no
learned,
script. There's no script at the end of the day, I imagine, so it does make it quite tricky.
yeah, you don't know what you're doing. Hey, you're just making it up. But it's really reinforced that when I went back, my baby was really small. She's only 5 weeks old when I went back to finish the show. And it did tell me, because at first I thought I was like, what am I doing? I'd made that plan before I knew what really that was going to be like. But going back to work, and even though I was shooting all day and then like sleeping only a few hours during the night and going back, the love of the job really was like, oh, it makes you a better mum even. Um, so I think I've learned that I still need that balance of working and this new life as well.
I mean, you talked about also renovations as well, which probably on top of having a baby is quite stressful and quite exhausting. How are you fitting it all in?
Oh my God, Matthew, it's the craziest thing it's not supposed to be like this. I do not recommend anyone do this. It's been so mad. Look, there is one post on my Instagram, which I don't post on at the best of times, but I had planned this whole like follow along and watch our journey. And we hadn't had the baby yet. And that I realize now is not a thing I can do. You can't fit it all in. You can't be proficient at everything. You just can't. Um, However, the fun bits of the renovation, I suppose, are only just about to start now anyway. So maybe I will try and do some stuff, but something had to give. And it was showing everyone what that's like because it's just can't I can't manage it all. But yeah, look, I wouldn't recommend having a kid, changing a job, and renovating all at once. I think that's for crazy people. Hi.
I mean, you're not the only one from former Neighbours star to do renovations. I mean, I know Matthew Wilson is renovating at the moment. Ryan Maloney always seems to be doing something. I mean, do you get any advice from them? Sort of from their journeys.
Yeah. Um, Look, what I've got to say is that I think Ryan is basically a professional at this point. because he's like, you know, he's really doing it. And he was always telling me a story about like the tractor he was driving to dig up the irrigation that he was laying. He's like seriously doing it. Yeah, he's great at it. Maddie, in fact, gave me the contact for the builder that we're using. So
Wow.
yes, I asked for a lot of advice from Matt Wilson, who is a great wealth of knowledge. He is also a professional, so I can't really compete with those guys. Although I did study interior design, it's a very different facet. You know, it's the concept and like the pretty stuff, but the grunt work of like building, that's yeah, it's not my favorite bit. It's also really hard. But yeah, I'm getting help.
People obviously have to keep an eye out on your Instagram page, which I know your Instagram page, and I was going to ask because it's O_Coco. Where did that come from?
Oh, Coco. So drama school is where the nickname Coco came from. I had a really good friend who was redheaded, and we had these alter ego characters that honestly it's pretty rudimentary how it came about. She was redheaded and she was Lady Danger Red, and I have brown skin and I was Coco Brown, and they were these characters that we made up in drama school, and they kind of stuck. And then back in the day when I was dating, and you like made a dating profile online, it just ripped all of your information straight from your social media. So I was Coco on dating sites, and so when I would go and meet somebody, I would forget that. I would forget that it didn't have my actual name on it, and would be halfway through like our first date or whatever. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, by the way, my name's Naomi." Yeah, and I have to tell them, which you know wasn't always bad. If you weren't into them, they couldn't find you properly, I suppose. But and then my partner, his group of friends, I think because we met online, whenever he'd speak about me, he'd refer to me as Coco. And so all of that group of people know me as Coco. And then when I was in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, our director, her name was also Naomi. And so they said, "Oh, do you have a nickname or anything to delineate from the two people?" So it wouldn't be, you know, if you were paged in the building or on the call sheet or something, it's like, so there was no confusion. So I was Coco for everyone at Harry Potter. So it just came from drama school, something really simple, but it's really stuck with me through my life. I still really respond to Coco.
And obviously, you talked about Harry Potter, and that was obviously quite a big part of your life before Neighbours. Do you kind of see yourself eventually going back to doing theatre? Is that something you would like to get back into in the future?
Um, yeah, like I mean, the theatre and television are just apples and oranges. They're nearly the opposite skill set. You know, you need to be really small on film and TV, and otherwise you just look like this. You know, look like you're doing that on camera. Whereas theatre, they got to see you at the back of that 1,500 seats. Now, at the moment, my partner owns a restaurant, and we can't both work nights because they don't like it when you leave your baby at home alone. It's really frowned upon. So one of us has to be there. So at the minute, I don't think theatre works for me because otherwise one of us has to give up a job. So there's not really much point. If I'm going to go back to work, I may as well work in something that I can work in and we can both stay working. So, and you know what? I've really loved my time in TV, I've got to say. And I've done a lot of theatre in my life, like really, really a lot. And I'd love to keep doing TV because the cool thing about it, I think, that you don't get with theatre is such an ephemeral experience. You go and you see the show, and even if it's recorded somewhere, it's not an adequate representation of what the show might have been because it's not filmed like, you know, a movie is filmed. It's not filmed for that viewing purpose. It's just filmed for archive. But when you work on something for film or TV, you have this tactile memory that you get to keep forever and you can revisit over and over, and it's actually really lovely. When I first left Neighbours, and I was like so sad about the show and, you know, was so overwhelmed with my new life, I actually It's going to sound really dorky. I watched so much Neighbours when my baby was really small. It was just on in the background all the time. But it was lovely because A, I caught up on all the storyline, but B, I got to see what I had been doing. And I was like, oh, that's me. No, that's what that work is. So you get to reflect on your own performance too. So maybe I'd like to keep going. That's a very long way to say maybe I'd like to keep going on in film and TV.
But I mean, I
Sorry.
know, no, I love it. I mean, a lot of people, kind of actors don't like watching their work back. Do you quite like it? Do you enjoy it, or is it just something you feel you should do to improve your skills?
Great question. I think my relationship's changed over the last few years watching. I think when I first started Neighbours, which is my first ongoing TV role, I think I first watched it sort of like this with a very critical, like, squint to be like, oh God, is it okay? Um, and as time's gone on and, I learned to just, because you kind of get one shot, right? You do the master, you do like a read through and a rehearsal for camera, and then you shoot your master, and then you just have to repeat exactly what you've done in that first shot 10 more times. So you got to go with your gut for that first shot because you don't get to change it. And I think that skill becomes really exercised. And when I felt way more comfortable with like make a bold choice and stick to it, I felt a bit more relaxed. And the more relaxed you are, the better performance you can give. The better performance you can give, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, it goes around in a eternal loop. And so after a while, I started watching for nuance in performance, not just God, I hope the performance was okay. And then after a while, I wasn't even really looking for performance a lot of the time. I was then just looking at story, which was really nice. You sort of forget that it's you, which is a weird thing to say, but I'll be watching the show to watch the show, not watching the show to watch me doing my job, which is kind of cool. It's like, I feel like I was not so self-critical that I couldn't just enjoy it. And that's what you want to be. That was really nice.
I mean, you were very lucky as well because you had such a great sort of, on-screen family around you. I mean, have you managed to keep in touch with, any of your, co-stars like Sara, Marley, Riley? Have you been able to keep in contact?
Yeah, they're so beautiful. Like, we were so blessed to have the Varga-Murphys. Like, I just couldn't have asked for a better crew to go in with. And they've a very special place in my heart. Yeah, they're so sweet. And Riley just has had some really cool new headshots taken, and he posted them a couple of days ago. And I made a comment on the top. I was just like, oh, my firstborn son, and I wrote, oh, so gorgeous. And then I had someone comment under that, a fan comment under that saying proud mum, and I was like, the proudest. And so it's lovely to see that other people can see that we have a great relationship too.
I mean, say so many great bonds are formed on that show, and you can tell that you guys all got on so well, and the fans really could see that as well. And it was just lovely to watch the Varga Murphys blossom. And obviously, towards the end, we know that the wheels fell off a little bit, but luckily at the end they were stuck back on. How were you with that kind of final few month storylines? Obviously, we know why that storyline was brought in, but I know you've talked about the kind of amnesia storyline a bit. What was your thoughts on it as a storyline to kind of force you out the show, as it were, for that period of time?
um, it was really hard to perform. I think, as an actor, you kind of only have a couple of avenues when you work on a story or a character that you're you're either going from it from a place of experience, or you can work at it from a place of theory. Because I don't know, acting hints in the title, it's not really a life you've necessarily lived. So, like, to be Dr. Remi, I could talk to doctors, I could speak to medical professionals, I can watch, there's lots of research, there's things you can um, go and theorize because I've got no experience as a doctor. Amnesia, however, you can't really do either of those things. I mean, I suppose you can speak to someone with amnesia, but you could never really practice having amnesia. You can practice being a doctor, like, you know, doctors are formed. Amnesia is something that happens to you. So, man, it was hard. And the other thing was we did a lot of pick forwards because I was going on leave. We shot some of the very end of the show before we'd even shot. Okay, let's say there's 3 steps and we're at step 1 and I'm going on leave and, like, you know, here somewhere. So we're shooting step 3 back at step 1. We've not filmed step 2. So I don't actually know how I'm bridging this gap yet because the story hadn't been written. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But we had to film it because I wasn't going to be there. So there was a lot of, like, logistical challenges to be like, what's the tone of this? And of course we have multiple directors, and because there's so many steps, like, say there's 3 different blocks of directors, it's 3 different directors with 3 slightly different visions. And, you know, I haven't worked with director 2 yet to be able to know how I'm going to link these visions together. I'm like doing here when I should be here. I was really frustrated, actually. I was like, guys, I understand what you're asking me to do and all that's fine. But the problem is, it's like, hey, climb this mountain. Okay, I know how to climb a mountain. The mountain is acting, sure. Except you're asking me to climb the mountain, but the mountain is in the middle of a lake and I've got no boat to get out there. Like, I don't have the story to help me get to be able to act the thing you want me to. And I was like, what am I doing? And I remember making a deal with someone, one of the directors, I don't remember who. I was like, look, I can just do this, you know, there's words on a page. So for this might sound really stupid, I'm sorry if this is too layman's terms, but you know, you get a script and it says, I don't want to do that, but depending on what the tone or the meaning or the intention behind the line is, I don't want to do that can be like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do that. And they mean different things. It's like, how do I know what I'm doing? So it was really confusing is my answer, Matthew. It was really, really confusing as to how do you pitch something that doesn't exist yet? Because I didn't even have the scripts for the end of the show before I left.
I mean,
We didn't actually know what was going to happen.
Did you get any advice from Jackie Woodburn? Because obviously she had played Amnesia in the past, and did
Yeah.
she kind of tell you how you could potentially play it?
I mean, yeah, but, like, I can't do what Jackie did because Jackie's done it. People would be like, but that's what Jackie did. And I was like, that's what they're going to be like. I can't do that. But yeah, like everyone wanted to help, but it was, you know, not just the doing the amnesia. It was honestly, where do I pitch this? Because the scripts didn't exist.
Are you glad that when it got to the end that we kind of got obviously Remi and Cara weren't necessarily back together, but were you glad that the amnesia storyline kind of got wrapped up and that Remi got her memory back at the end, and that we're seeing the beginnings potentially that they could be rekindling in the future? Were you happy with that outcome?
Yeah, you know, I like the fans just loved the Varga-Murphy so much, and I think it would have been so sad to fracture the family when the show was ending. Like, if that was going to happen, we needed to give them reason and let them, like, you know, feel okay about it. You can't just blow something up and be like, see ya. That would have been so mean. And I think I would have felt a bit like that too. You know, we also loved the Varga-Murphys, and I'm glad they came to resolution. And yeah, you're right. It wasn't like they were then automatically deeply back in love. It was just like they were starting somewhere. And I think that was a really nice way to kind of finish it for now. Or who knows if the show had kept going, or maybe if it gets picked up again. He's hoping. Always secretly hoping. It could be interesting to see what happens with Remi and Cara. You know, there's a bit of a school of thought. They've been together for so long, like since their 20s. And if you don't have shared history, the amount you change between 20 and 40 is so vast. Would you still love that person if you met them now for the first time? So would Remi still love Cara, or would they just be, so because they're so different, would they still be a couple? Or maybe that would be worth exploring. But I'm glad, since there's no opportunity to explain anything, that they came back together. We needed it.
I mean, in the future, if there is some sort of spin-off, if we get a Ramsey Hills or a Robinson Towers, where do you see Remi and Cara and the boys? Where would you like to see them? Would you like to see them in the Tower block, or would you like to see them in Ramsey Hills?
You know what? I've been asked this a couple of times. Been thinking about it a lot. I think, well, Remi and Cara were thinking of splitting their assets, right? So they were going to have two houses nearby no matter what. If they stay together, maybe they could have a house in the hills, but also maybe a chic little apartment in Ramsey Towers. The boys are growing up. They're going to go to uni soon. Maybe they want to be in town. Or maybe they, yeah, and I could definitely see Remi like living in the city. Cara wants the wide open space. We all know that from her big house in Werribee. But oh gosh, I don't know. I want to say both. I really do want to say both. We could have both. We could have both. We have a portfolio.
Why not?
Why not?
Also, towards the end, we did get to see obviously Gary Sweet come in as Cara's dad. Are you disappointed you didn't get to do a great deal with him? Because what an acting talent he is.
So devastating. And he's the nicest man ever. He's like, Gary's actually just such a gorgeous human being. Yeah, I would have loved to have more scenes. I think we spoke like twice, and maybe actually one of them was on the phone. So I think we like had one. Did we have a scene together? One scene together? Anyway, yeah, it was sad not to do way more with him. I mean, I got to hang out with him a lot at work, but we didn't have scenes, which sucked, because he's beautiful. What a beautiful soul.
I mean, to say, because I first became aware of his work when he appeared in a program called House Husbands, funnily enough, alongside Julia Morris, who he's now in the jungle with. Well, she presents the jungle. He's in the jungle. Also, Beck's in there, we must say. Yeah, I mean, annoyingly, we can't watch it here in the UK, but I have seen some clips. I mean, have you been watching? How is she getting on?
Who? Beck?
Rebecca, yeah.
I mean, Rebecca Imologlu. She's in there being Rebecca Imologlu. She's having a great time. Like, I mean, Beck is such a great personality. And I've got to say, I mean, human. She's like that in real life. She's not putting that on. She's just like that. She's opinionated and loud and fun, but she's also really kind and warm. But, she makes for good TV because she has strong opinion. And she can clash with people, and she can make up with people. And yeah, I mean, I'd put Beck on my show for sure.
And is it something you would ever do in the future? Could you imagine yourself going into the jungle?
Oh, why not? Why not? If anyone wants to put me in the jungle, I'd think about it for sure.
Fingers crossed. We'd love to see you in there, because I mean, the series here in the UK is quite popular. It's been running for like 20 odd years. It's quite staple TV here in the UK. So we'll have to maybe try and get you over and do the UK version as well, because ours is filmed in Australia, so it's perfect.
How funny is that? That's so funny. How come you can't watch this one then?
I'm not sure. I think it might be because if it's an Australian production, they probably haven't found a UK company to broadcast it.
Right.
But fingers crossed, maybe one day they'll broadcast the Australian series.
Well, Matthew, if you get me a job on the UK version, I'll credit you, and I'll do it just for you.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that. Now, I say we are kind of coming towards the end, but I mean, we've obviously talked a bit about Neighbours, but Remi, such an amazing character. We loved her during her time on the show. What would you say would have been your highlights from your time on the show as Remi? What was it that you enjoyed the most about playing Remi?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I've never been asked that. That's funny. It was such a joy. This is probably a bit of an actorly response, but it's such a joy to have a character that you grow with. So you never really get to play the same character for 2.5 years. It's not usual. No matter what you're doing, like TV, unless you're in a long series, you don't really get that. It's like shoots for 3 months, and that's what that is. Or if it's a play, it's the same thing. I think one of the greatest things is to when you get a script to know intrinsically, or like, oh, she wouldn't say that, or she doesn't think like that, and she is. Uh, it's not me. It's not me. You really there comes a time where you can delineate your character from yourself, and although you feel really kindred with them, they're fundamentally different to you. But knowing how they would behave and getting to grow all of their really nuanced thoughts and movements, that was so cool. It was so beautiful. And the way you get to interact with the family, so like the boys, the loving touches or the nicknames you call them, like I'm not sure if you'll pick it up in some of the episodes, but we started to sneak little things in, like Remi called JJ Juji at one point because JJ along the way became shortened for Jiu-Jitsu Varga-Murphy, which is, you know, what Naomi and Riley made up. But I always called Riley Juji in real life. And so we snuck it into the show and you hear Remi call him Juji. Things like little tidbits like that you do for each other. That was really beautiful to be a part of. What I think you're asking in a less actorly kind of answer, I think one of my favorite scenes was in the hospital with Kara and finding out the paternity for JJ. It was shot by Eugenie Muggleton. And it was this really beautiful shot where Kara and Remi are standing at the end of the hospital corridor, just under a sign, and the world is moving past, and they're in sort of shock about it. And the quietness and the realness of what do we do now kind of came out. And I remember feeling in that moment, this is the kind of TV shot that the young actor Naomi has always wanted to be a part of. Like this shot and this style and the sentiment of what was going on. Like I've always dreamed to be in something really moving and beautiful like that. And that was the shot. And I remember messaging Eugenie saying like, this is just like my cup runneth over with feels about this. Thanks so much for today. And yeah, when I watched that, when I'd just gotten back from the hospital with my new baby, and I watched it and I like had a little tear. It was just like a bit of a dream realized. I got to say that was one of my favorites.
I mean, I know one of the ones that I found so moving was around the time that Magella Davis's character lost her baby, and those
Yeah.
scenes, which I imagine, I mean, watching them back now are so it's so hard to watch, but at the same time, the love that was put into those scenes was just so good. And obviously, I mean, I think I've said this to you before, but congrats to everyone involved in those because they was, I would say, some of the best of the kind of the new Neighbours era. I mean, just briefly, what was that like to do? Because it must have been so tough.
Thank you. That's really nice of you to say, Matthew. It was incredibly hard, incredibly. The content was really a lot, like really, really a lot. Um, yes, she agrees. Sorry, it's my small dinosaur. Yeah, Magella. Maggie did the most exceptional job of what was just an absolute mountain to climb, and so did Steph Dennis. Like that, their work was exceptional. It was so harrowing to be in that. Like it's really hard content, and they closed the set for that. Madge and I really held each other that day a lot. We checked in that night. We spent a lot of time rehearsing alone to be support systems. She was just sublime. I agree with you. Some of the best work of the show. She was just beautiful. And those are hard places. Again, you know, that's one of those times you either have experience in that kind of thing or you theoretically go through how do I play dead baby mum? Neither are good options. Yeah, it was very tough, but having great scene partners really helped.
And I mean, I have to ask this question as we kind of slowly wrap things up. I mean, Remi, being a doctor, do you ever in real life get asked for advice, medical advice, and what's your answer to them normally?
Mm, So there's a bit of a long running joke with the Varga-Murphys now, especially as you all the fans know, we like to give each other a bit of shit. We rib each other along a lot. We always did from the get-go. That was part of the great dynamic of our family. And the jokes pertain to Cara always saying, I'd never put this family in danger, and then immediately proceeding to put the family in danger. And the other one is with Remi entering a room saying, I'm Remi, I'm a doctor, when nobody has asked. Nobody has asked that. Absolutely unnecessary. Don't know why I've said it. So no one asks me for medical advice, but I do like to say, hi, I'm Remi and I'm a doctor, just to keep the joke alive.
Now, I just have to say it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on. Thank you for giving up your time for me. We've got our fingers crossed that hopefully this won't be the last we see of Remi. Do you think it'll be quite easy to put Remi's, shoes back on and get back into that role as and when that comes up, do you think?
I've left the scrubs hanging at the door. I'm so ready. I'm ready. I'd love to. I would love to revisit the role. It would be so beautiful. I cross everything as well. Universe, everyone, we're crossing it. Yeah, I think it would be easy to get back in. It'll take a little minute, but she was a pure joy to be in her shoes. So hope so.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank
Hopefully
you
we'll
for
get to have you back on again one day. But yeah, thank you
sure.
so much.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks so much for asking me. Lovely to see you.